What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
And LeVon Maynard.
What up?
What is going on? So make sure you tune in throughout the week. Monday, we talked about a replay attack that's affecting Apple users in a specific use case with Visa cards. So definitely check that out. On Tuesday's episode, we talked about the FCC shoring up some loopholes when it comes to SIM swap attacks. There's a really good information in that one. Definitely check it out. And now today, excuse me, my voice is breaking up, so I'm trying not to talk too much. But today, I posed the question: has ransomware passed the point of no return? So in this article that was on the Wall Street Journal by Kevin Polson, Robert McMillan, and Melanie Evans, I'm sorry. It's a hospital hit by hackers, a baby in distress, the case of the first alleged ransomware death. So this is potentially the first recorded ransomware death. I'm sure others have happened in the past due to second and third order effects, right? Unfortunately, in this case, it has to do with a baby. To quickly surmise it, because I don't want to take up too much time, and again, my voice is starting to fail. Excuse me. It states for nearly, I'm going through puberty right now, excuse me. For nearly 8 days, computers had been disabled on every floor. A real-time wireless tracker that could locate medical staff around the hospital was down. Years of patient health records were inaccessible. At the nurse's desk, in the labor and delivery unit, medical staff were cut off from the equipment that monitors fetal heart rates in the 12 delivery rooms. This directly impacted the birth of a baby who subsequently passed away 9 months later. If you read into the article, the umbilical cord was wrapped around the baby's neck, and they couldn't tell the baby was in distress, and the baby was born naturally, and obviously had complications due to the cord being around its neck for so long, cutting off oxygen. Had they not had this ransomware attack, obviously, they would have access to all the systems, and most unlikely, this would not have been a problem. The hospital and the doctor point fingers at one another, because the hospital was the one that were under attack. The doctors were briefed about the said attack, but again, they didn't have the tools and resources. To which the doctor said, had he had the resources, he probably would have delivered the baby cesarean to alleviate the distress. So the mom is suing because of the subsequent death of her child, and she was never made aware that there was a ransomware attack and that it was affecting their systems. So from her perspective, she had no clue. Maybe that would have changed things. Perhaps, not even maybe, it probably most likely would have changed things. So the article kind of tries to figure out who's at fault. Is it the doctor's fault for not disclosing this information and monitoring more effectively? Is it the hospital's fault for being the ones who were attacked? Obviously, their systems were not secure, and they were hit by this, and it lasted for 8 days. And the article doesn't go into great detail if they paid or what have you. They come up off backups. It's more focused on the situation with the mother and her child and the subsequent lawsuit. So the question is, has ransomware passed the point of no return? So I'll give it to you, Shannon.
So I feel a few different things about this. So to say it's gone past the point of no return, yes, because a life was lost, right? I'll say yes, because you'll never get that back, right? That's just not going to happen. Now, to say that this is the first time this has happened, I don't know. This might be the first time it's been reported, but I find it hard to believe because in the article, they don't specifically attribute it to one group, but it is believed that it's the group Ryuk, R-Y-U-K. And they were known for going after hospitals, right? I think it mentioned in there they went after like 230 some odd hospitals from like 2018 to now or something like that. Hospitals, psychiatric units, things of that nature. So if they were doing this at this location and this happened, I find it hard to believe they hit 235 hospitals and there was not an issue where there was some type of death of a child or a patient that could have been ill anyway. You know what I mean? It's probably just one of those things that wasn't reported. But man, yes, we're past the point of no return. I don't think this is ever going to stop. Even with the fines, I know we say, go out there, give them. Well, you can't even say give them fines because these people are criminals anyway. They don't care about that, right? Maybe give them real jail time. Maybe that's something that'll make them think harder on it. But this situation was tragic, and it was tragic. It was tragic that it happened, and what's even more tragic is that nobody wants to take responsibility for it. So the hospital says the doctor should have been the one to notify this woman that was having the baby, right? The doctor was like, well, no, that's not my fault. I wasn't properly notified of the condition of the patient, which falls in the hospital, right? Like, you have this equipment and everything. But it's a little weird in that when they first came under attack, they went out and they consulted with their staff, their doctors and things like that. And they asked them, they were like, do you think we could still go forward and proceed business as usual? I hate to say business because it's a hospital, but hospitals are businesses nowadays. It's what they do. They're there to make money. And they said yes. They said they thought they could continue even without full access to everything that they need. I mean, they had systems that were shut down. The reason this one, as you alluded to, the reason this one was so tragic in how it ended was that they actually talk about how the nurses station had a monitor that was hooked up to a system that was not working. Like, it monitors fetal heartbeats and things like that for people that were in labor or soon to go into labor, ready to deliver. And it was not working at the time, right? So they couldn't tell this baby was in distress. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, I don't know who to blame here, right? Because even if the doctor had said something like, what would this person's options have been? I don't know where the next closest hospital that could have helped her was. If she's in a big city area, I don't even remember where this took place. Do you remember where this took place, Ryan? I'm trying to remember.
I'll look for it.
Article. But Spring Hill Medical Center, wherever that is at, Alabama. It was in Alabama. So in Alabama, I'm not going to sit here and say, Alabama has a lot of hospitals all over the place, right? It may be a large state land-wise, but it doesn't have a lot of people that live there, so there's probably not a lot of hospitals, right? So her choices may have been limited anyway. She may not have been able to go over to a hospital 2 counties away or whatever it may have been, right? This may have been her only option for what she needed. But yeah, this has gone too far with this. Stuff like this is just, it's tragic. I find it hard to believe it is the only time it's happened. It just hasn't been reported yet. And this may be the spark that lights it up to where all of a sudden you'll start seeing more cases come. They'll be like, well, this happened in 2017, 2018, they'll start coming out. But I don't know. I hate to see this, right? Because a young life was lost. But as I've said before already, I'm almost positive it's not the first time, but it's still sad. But LeVon, what's your thoughts on this, man?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it's, I'm sure it's not the first time. I mean, this is as many hospitals and stuff they've attacked, and even with the pipeline, I'm sure that kind of like, maybe not directly, but it probably caused somebody to pass away from not having access to some resources they needed, or some people are trying to, or acting a fool, trying to get gas and having fights and whatever. There's little things like that you probably don't even know about. It probably had some sort of like relation to that whole situation, but without a doubt, with the hospitals being attacked, I mean, you gotta imagine there's got to be some patients out there that have been affected by this, and I know hospitals have been, denied access to the records as a result of ransomware, and patients and or doctors need that information to follow some procedure, or like to follow up on a patient's medical history and give them the treatment that they need, and not having access to that can obviously cause has a chance of causing death. But this is obviously a big deal, and nobody wants to see a life taken away, especially by this means. And and I'm hopeful that, obviously, we're doing our cybersecurity thing here, and I'm hoping that the hospitals take these things serious as far as like securing their infrastructure, securing their devices, keeping stuff up to date. As I know, I've seen, I think nowadays they look pretty good. Like, I'm seeing a lot of systems updated, at least like on Windows 10. I remember going to hospitals and, not too long ago and seeing like XP and things like that on their systems. I'm like, what the hell are they doing? They're on this old operating system. Windows 10 has been out for however long, like it's been around for at least a few years now, 6 years, I think. And they're still sitting around on XP. But, hopefully these hospitals are taking this serious, because obviously their patients are, their responsibility. And like you said before, Shannon, that it is like, unfortunate thing is that it is a business. And even as a business, they need to make sure that they're providing the best service so that people want to come to them, and that they, make sure that their hospital is like, known for being a quality hospital, and not known for being, susceptible to ransomware and then patients dying left and right because of, some situation like this. But, like I mentioned, I'm hopeful that these hospitals kind of take this serious and that they start upgrading the systems. And I think as well with the hackers I think we read some reports, a few weeks back, some other hackers, some ransomware, because we've seen this quite a bit over COVID times. But the hackers, I don't think they intentionally, try to harm people. They have some sort of, I think for the most part, they have some sort of ethics, some sort of moral code, even though they're not doing obviously morally good things. They don't want to kill people. They don't want to harm people. But it's just like a result of their actions that will cause that kind of this kind of situation to happen, especially when they're targeting the hospitals, because they think the hospitals are going to be under pressure, so they're going to want to pay the money as quickly as possible and get the systems back up. So they're trying to use that as leverage. But from some of the reports that we saw, and some of them, like even with the I think it was the meat.
Revel. So I remember Revel had the same thing.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we didn't mean to do this. Like, it's
right.
Not we don't target these things because we don't want to cause undue harm.
Right.
But you'd be like, but that's an immature viewpoint of it, right? Like,
mm-hmm.
you are potentially going to kill somebody by doing that, even with a blackout. Like if you knock out power and somebody needs something, like let's say the generator fails in the hospital, you knocked out the power and then somebody's on life support and they die. Like you did that. I mean, like, there's second and third order effects. Like every cyber attack is potentially a kinetic strike. You're not blowing things up with bombs, but to knock out a generator that's powering people's lives, they're on a ventilator, especially now during COVID. Oh man,
right.
The hospital went down, they would lose hundreds of patients potentially.
Right. Yeah, it's like a chain reaction.
Yeah.
Your intent is not what's going to keep you out of jail, though, right? It's always the end result.
Right.
Like, I can't tell you how many people go to court and be like, "That was not my intention." Be like, well, it's manslaughter then.
Right.
You still, you didn't have the intent to go and do whatever it was. You know what I mean? Like, if I drunk drive, I don't drink at all, so it's not a concern. But if I drunk drive, it doesn't matter that I left the house and I didn't intend to kill somebody. I did. I can't go to the judge and be like, "Hey, don't throw me in jail because that was not my intention." Well, that's not how that works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So another aspect of it, I guess, would be to ask the question, is the government more responsible, or should there be more governance in these privatized hospitals? So like I was in a Clubhouse panel, and they had people from NHS talking about the same thing about ransomware, how they got hit with WannaCry and how they've changed the way they do business. So it never happens again. I think they were on Windows 95 at the time when they got hit, something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
And just how they had to age up their systems, as well as start to protect them more. What's crazy is I didn't know the guy who I was talking with, because Clubhouse, you raise your hand and then you can speak. So I was talking directly to this guy. I connected with him on Facebook after. He was the CIO for the NHS, so all of NHS. He was their cyber guy, and he was just talking about how they've changed business. And then when he talked to people in the States, like obviously I was not a subject matter expert in that regard. I just had questions. We're not doing the same because it's privatized. Like, so if you want your hospital to be secure, then you need to get a team. You need to get your own CISO. You need to get your X, Y, and Z, as opposed to NHS is obviously socialist, right? So he is the director across all of it. And then he has people who work underneath him to try to secure all the systems because they're all the same for the most part. as opposed to us, like you said, some are on 95, some are on XP. Some just don't have security teams. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so this continuously get attacked. So is it for the government to step in, or do they just need to do patients just need to start suing? Like, how does that work?
Yeah.
So is it considered a public health thing though, right? So that's what it comes down to. So
Right.
if the government says, okay, we're stepping in because it's a public health issue, that if they're out of date, it could be a matter of, losing your records, losing your social security number, things of that nature, or people actually dying, like in this instance, right? Now, this is harder to sell than recent things where people say it's a public health issue, right? It's a little bit of a harder sell because it's not going to be on such a grand scale like it is with COVID. But yeah, I don't know how we would go about that. And like you said, the guy for NHS, I mean, that's a government position, right? It's socialized through England, right, or the UK or whatever.
Yeah.
NHS.
Yes, there's the whole UK, I think, has NHS from I don't know how deep it goes. Like, is it just the United Kingdom that has NHS, or does it sweep into the rest of Europe as well? That is a question I cannot answer. But
I think it's
just through Europe.
Yeah, you think so? Okay,
I think so. I think it's not just the UK. I think it also sweeps through Europe, at least portions of it. But I don't remember when I was in Germany. I never went to one of their hospitals, so I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
But as opposed to the US, it's let's say there's 1 million hospitals, there's a million different fiefdoms, right? Like, everyone is their own specific privatized enclave, right? So unless they own a bunch of hospitals, like, they're all separate. Yeah, unless they're within their own, in a wider network, they're all separate. I don't know of too many government-run hospitals aside from, like, on bases and things of that nature. I'm sure they exist, but for the most part, when you see a hospital, it's owned by somebody, or it has a board that is owned by of multiple people.
Right.
So they could be on 95, like, that's what's working for their record system or what have you, or they could have upgraded, but they don't have, like I said, they don't have like a CISO or a vCISO or something like that. But I honestly am concerned, not more so than before, because I knew this was going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, it's only a matter of time before this was going to kill somebody. But does this deter ransomware gangs? Like, oh, well, we don't want to kill people, or does it show, like, oh, okay, now there's skin in the game. Like, they know if we ransom long enough, somebody might die, so we need to go down on this. I honestly don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as you were kind of talking about before with the government, like it's regulation, I mean, or, government stepping in, and you may be making some form of regulation, but I think it is important. I know a lot of people, many people may have views that, oh, we don't want the government and, encroaching on freedoms and all this kind of stuff. And, but, I think the main purpose of the government is to support the people and protect the people. And it's the same reason you have government regulation on, food products. You have regulation on housing. Contractors have certain regulation that they follow with building houses and make sure that they're safe and structurally safe, and water systems and all this kind of stuff. You can't just do everything, whatever you want. Regulation on car parts, building, putting together vehicles, everything like that. So it's like, I think there should be some sort of form of regulation on hospitals to make sure that their systems are up to a certain standard as far as security, physical security, as well as cyber security. Make sure that, obviously, we already have the information security that they must, maintain medical privacy and all that kind of stuff. And, I think that kind of falls right in line with, securing their assets and make sure that they don't get these ransomware hacks, or make sure that if at least that they did everything in their power to prevent that ransomware attack from happening. Obviously, nothing's like 100% foolproof, but being able to at least, put your best foot forward and put the best effort forward to secure your systems and have everything in place to make sure that it's, it's up to snuff, and that you have a disaster recovery plan in place in case the systems go down. You have something that's kind of a back end, you know, a back end site or whatever you can connect to, or whatever you need to continue your operations. Hospitals already have backup, power supplies. I mean, they have generators, things like that in case power outages. So the same thing should be in place for their information systems as well. Just got to make sure that they are prepared for any kind of attack, any kind of a situation that happens. So.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Hopefully, like Shannon said, she can't get her baby back, but hopefully by the time this is over, she owns that hospital. You know what I mean? Right. Take that thing from them. Like whatever you can get, just to show, not just out of spite, but just to show that there's ramifications, right? If you're not securing your systems, you're not protecting your patients, like you potentially could lose everything. Because you didn't do your due diligence to keep everything safe. So,
right.
We will see. We'll see what happens. Like a lot of our stories come back in some aspect or some regard. So I see this one resurfacing, and due to regulation of some sort, or due to her winning a windfall lawsuit, which again doesn't bring her child back, but it sets a tone. It makes a statement. Like there are repercussions for not doing what you're supposed to do, especially when it comes to patient safety and security. So, which goes hand in hand with cybersecurity nowadays. But yeah, this one was kind of more of a somber discussion. You know what I mean? Like most of our discussions don't lead to fatality. Thank God. But cyber is everywhere. Cyber has an influence and impact on everyday life, as you can see. So definitely need to stay focused, keep doing, keep progressing, right? Like keep cybersecurity at the forefront, and make sure we're putting the right people, the right resources, the right money, and filling those slots, because there are huge shortages of cybersecurity professionals, especially in the medical field. Like, so I was looking at that not too long ago. Like they're in desperate need of cybersecurity professionals from the top down to work in hospitals. So there is that. But continue to tune in. So we talked about Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So please tune in for Friday if you want to talk about everything else that's not cyber, where we should have some really good discussions as well. Hit up the website, www.theothersideofthefirewall.com, where you can get to all our social media stuff. And then you can hit me up. Personally, I'm at RyRy Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy. I am on Clubhouse, LinkedIn, Twitter, and TikTok. And you, LeVon?
Hit me up on the Twitters at LeVon Maynard.
There it is. Stay safe, stay secure.
Take care.